With summer almost over, the look and feel of our education for our kids is really undergoing a major overhaul. You probably noticed over the last several years, enrollment in traditional public school is actually dropping across the country, according to this data, with more than 1 million kids removed from public school by their parents between 2019 and 2023. That's according to the National Center for Education Statistics. Now, there are several factors playing into the decline. Birth rates are falling to an historic low in this country, and fewer children are entering kindergarten and early grades because of it. Homeschooling and private and charter schools, also online learning too, they're starting to really get a big boom as the shift of school choice gains momentum across the country. We're going to welcome to the show, we've got Corey DeAngelis, school choice advocate and senior fellow at the American Culture Project. He's also the author of The Parent Revolution. And then we have Ashana Begard. She's the co-founder of the New Orleans Education Justice Project. Thank you so much for joining us.
Hey, thank you.
Ashana, first, tell me a little bit about your background. I understand you're a mom of 3. Why are you against school choice, and what has your experience been like?
Well, I'm primarily against the way school choice came down after Hurricane Katrina in New Orleans because we experienced disaster capitalism. There were, I would say, hundreds of meeting with parents and community teachers about what we wanted. And what we got instead was pretty much prison-style schools and a lot of not choice. What our school choice boiled down to is the school's choice to not have a lot of our children enroll. We had rampant discrimination against economic discrimination, special needs, which is why Louisiana is under a federal consent decree now. Southern Poverty Law Center did a lawsuit because of how many children with special needs was being discriminated against. And so school choice just really turned into the choice of schools to not educate our children and definitely not listen to the communities and the public about the things we wanted for our children. We don't have as much innovation as we had pre-Katrina, which is insane because of the amount of money that came down for education. It was literally billions of dollars.
Wow. Oh gosh, thank you for sharing that. Corey, what do you think about this? You know, one of the biggest criticisms is that things like that, is that some students are going to be falling through the cracks, and the real losers here are going to be the kids that go to go to public schools, and there's going to be fewer dollars per pupil because the money is going to be diverted away from these public schools. At the same time, school choice puts parents in the driver's seat. So what do you make of all this? And, you know, you're sitting across from somebody who's had a real negative experience.
Yeah, look, Ashana is describing the status quo perfectly. There is inequity built into the government-run school system. The public schools in too many places discriminate on the basis of zip code, and they're failing kids in too many places as well. In Chicago, there are 55 public schools with not a single kid proficient in math, yet they spend about $30,000 per student per year, which is about 50 to 60% higher than average private school tuition in that area. And so, look, the money doesn't belong to the schools, public or private. Education funding is meant for educating children, not for protecting a particular institution. We should fund the student, not the system. We should fund the person, not the building. And so with school choice, that allows the money to follow the child. If you like your public school, you can keep your public school. But if not, that money should follow the student to a private school if that works better, or a charter school, or even a homeschool option. And this is what's happening over the past few years. The unions closed the schools as long as possible. Why are kids leaving? Because parents are going towards homeschooling, private schools, and school choice is passing in so many states right now like we've never seen before. It's great news.
Would any of those options, Ashana, would any of those work for you? Could you homeschool, or could you use one of these vouchers and benefit from it, perhaps, you know, for your son who has special needs?
Absolutely not. And I will tell you the reason that wouldn't work is because New Orleans just 4 years ago was 100% charter. So we definitely did not have a school choice of putting our children in public school. So that's a misnomer. But the other part of that is that a lot of the private schools do not educate children better than public schools, as the data has shown. And I just think that we need to fight for quality public schools. Do I think our public schools need to work? Absolutely. But when we decentralize education, what happens is we get a lack of democracy, because right now we have all these independent charters and networks that have their own boards. We don't get to vote on those boards. And so what it does is it takes the democracy from the parents to push to have different kinds of schools, to bring back driver's ed, to bring back local school newspapers, home economics, the things, plus the computer labs and the things we want to see, the app labs. We want to see futuristic things, and we also want to see our children learn how to cook and clean. We want home ec, we want driving, we want swimming lessons, especially in New Orleans because of how many people drowned from Hurricane
You can
Katrina.
imagine that those programs would be seen as fringe and would potentially be cut, Corey. My personal experience, I grew up going to public school. My kids will likely go to public school. They're small. They're going to a public elementary school, and we love the school district that we're in. I've got several friends, one girlfriend in particular I'm really thinking about every time we do this topic. She has 3 girls, and she is deeply religious, her and her husband, and they want their kids to go to a Christian school, and they would not be able to afford it if it weren't for school choice. So if you can, Corey, talk a little bit about the need for kids getting specific education for what suits the family and how the school choice programs, these vouchers, could help.
Yeah, look, parents choose schools for a multitude of reasons. It could be because of academics. It could be because of test scores. It could be because of safety. There was a new FBI report that just came out showing 1.3 million crimes at public schools all across the country. In too many instances, these are chaos war zones that have too much violence. And so there was a DC voucher program experiment that just came out recently. The latest one showed that winning a lottery to go to a private school in DC using a scholarship increased the likelihood that students said that they were in a very safe school by 34%. So look, if the private schools aren't doing any better, just ask the parents why they're leaving the public schools. Why are the teachers unions afraid of any competition if the public schools are actually so great? So look, this should be up to the parents. They should be in the driver's seat. They know their kids better than anybody else, certainly more than bureaucrats sitting in offices hundreds of miles away. So I trust the parents to make the decision. And I think the public school should be an option that's still on the table. And Florida's been a great example about how the public schools have actually upped their game in response to that competition. It's been a rising tide that lifts all boats, because when parents can leave, the school boards start to listen to them.
Well, so this would be dollar for dollar up to $1,700, and governors would have to opt into this. And Shauna, the governors they're getting pressure from both sides. They're getting pressure from parents who want more control, saying, yes, you should opt into this. Then you've got pressure from teachers unions as well. I want you to take a listen to the leader of one teachers union.
The 90% of the kids who go to public schools become the big losers. The kids that are basically going to these voucher schools are people who've already been there.
Shauna, is that one of your biggest arguments there?
I mean, it definitely is. And so you're taking money from children in public schools, and we know traditionally public schools have always been underfunded, to give to private school vouchers. Do I think there should be some scholarships available? Absolutely, and they always have been. But as far as taking money from the already disenfranchised public school system to give to private school vouchers, especially for parents who can't afford it, which is what's happening in Louisiana, it seems unfair. And we know about white flight, and we know it's still happening, especially under the current administration. So I might want a school that's entirely made up of young white Christian children. But should I, the taxpayer, pay for that, especially as a Black taxpayer in a mostly Black city? Should I pay for you to segregate your child from my child because you deem my child?
That happens in the status quo. You have segregated schools today that are segregated by zip code. And I will say the public schools are not underfunded. We spend about $20,000 per student per year in the public schools nationwide. Look it up. It's at the Census Bureau and the National Center for Education Statistics. We have increased spending by about 170% after adjusting for inflation since 1970. Have the outcomes gotten 170%? No, they haven't.
I apologize. We're going to have to end it here. Both of you guys, thank you so much for arguing.
I just want to say, look at Finland. Look at Finland.
Finland has a nationwide school choice program. Finland has a nationwide school choice program.
Corey and Shauna, thank you so much. And we all care deeply about how we educate our kids. Without a doubt, they are our future. Thank you so much for joining us. More News Nation now coming up.